Hola chicos, soy la señora Márquez Aponte and today we are going to learn how to use stem changing verbs that change from O to UE. Okay, before watching this video, you should have already learned and practiced the meaning of a stem changing verbs in Quizlet. Activity 21, Parte 3. Watch and answer questions in videos 4 and 5 in Ed Puzzle. If you have done this, please move on to watch this video. Objetivos del video 8. To learn why we call some verbs stem changing or should or would verbs, how to conjugate stem changing verbs, and you will complete 5 sentences to demonstrate your understanding. Okay, so let's start now. Okay. So, why are some verbs called stem changing verbs? Because the spelling changes in the stem or root. Por ejemplo, O to UE on these verbs. So all this is happening is that the O on all of these verbs is going to change to UE. Now, is the O going to change to UE for all of the conjugations? No. That's why we are going to look at this more in depth. Why are stem changing verbs called should or would verbs? Because you can trace a should, would around the forms or conjugations where the stem changes. So if you look at this picture here, you see a should. You see that all the conjugations that are inside the should, the O has changed to UE. This is why on the previous video, I show you real quick and review with you how to identify the stem of a verb. We know quickly, let's talk about it. We know that we just drop the verb ending, whether it's AR, ER, IR, we just drop it, and whatever we have left, that's the stem. So, in this case, what we have done is change the O to UE for the conjugations, again, that are inside the should. Okay, which conjugations are inside the should? Let's talk about that for a second. Yo vuelvo. Tú vuelves. Usted, él, ella vuelve. Nosotros en vosotros. These two conjugations are not inside the should. Can you guess why? Take a look at their stem. And the last one, ustedes, ellos, en ellas vuelven. So basically, all the conjugations again that are inside the should, okay, they take the UE. Nosotros and vosotros are in a section. They do not change in the stem. So you don't need to change the O to UE for nosotros and vosotros. How to conjugate stem changing verbs ending in AR? Okay, so there are 3 easy steps to conjugate verbs. All right, so first, find the subject. The subject in a sentence can be a person, animal, or thing. Por ejemplo, Ana, blank, contar el dinero. The second step that you should follow is decide if you need to change the O to UE. And the third step is drop the verb ending and replace it with the ending that matches the subject. So let's take a look at this example. Okay, so the subject here will be Ana. Now, Ana is the same as ella. Ana is the same as ella. So, let's take a look at the ending. The ending is AR. Okay, so the ending for ella is A. So we know that this AR is going to change to an A. Now, let's take a look at this other chart for contar. Now we need to decide if this O needs to change to UE. So, Let's use our mouse to draw a shoe around the conjugations. Okay, or we can use a pen, right? And here we go. There is our shoe. Okay, so ella is inside the shoe. Okay, so it becomes cuenta. All right. So now, one more thing that I want you to do. I would like you to compare, okay, the endings in this column for hablar. Look at the column for hablar. Look at all the conjugations, the verb endings that are in red, and compare them to the verb conjugation endings that are here for contar. Do you see any differences? No, there are no differences. The endings are the same. So in this lesson, what we're focusing on is on being mindful when we need to change the stem. Okay? The verb endings, you already have learned them and you know them when we cover and when we practice AR verbs, ER verbs, and IR verbs. Okay, so this is something that you already know, and I will be showing you this word bank to make things easier throughout this video. Okay, how to conjugate changing stem changing verbs ending in ER. Same thing, again, it's 3 easy steps. First, we want to find the subject. Okay, so por ejemplo, ¿cuándo volver tú a la escuela? Okay, when, we want to say, when are you coming back to school? Okay, so since that is what we want to say, okay, we need to first look at the subject, find the subject. So the subject here is to. Okay, so now that we know the subject, let's look at the verb ending. It's an ER verb. Okay, so what's the ending for an ER verb? To, the ending is ES. So we can change this ER to ES. We can change this to ES. Okay, now, since it's two, okay, let's draw the shoe and see if two is inside the shoe. Yes, it is. Here it is. Okay, so let's change this to UE. And that's how we come up with the answer. And the answer should be vuelves. Vuelves. There we go. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Clean up a little bit. How to conjugate stem changing verbs ending in IR? Again, it's the same 3 easy steps. We want to find the subject, decide if we need to change the O to UE, drop the verb ending and replace it with the ending that matches the subjects. Por ejemplo, ¿dormir ustedes mucho o poco? Do you all sleep a lot or little? Okay, so in this case, we need to find the subject. Which word is the subject? Ustedes. Muy bien. Okay, so now that we know that it's ustedes, let's look at the verb ending. We know that it's IR. Okay, we know that it's ustedes. So let's take a look on the very bottom here. Okay, we see the ending for ustedes, en. So we drop the IR. We change that to en. Now, let's draw the shoe. Okay, and ustedes is here. So yes, we do change it to UE. Okay, so another way to remember this is that nosotros and vosotros are the only ones that stay outside the shoe that do not change at all. The O does not change to UE for nosotros and vosotros. Alrighty, good job. So Continuemos. Okay. Common errors. Stem changing verbs ending in ER, IR. Okay. These are some common errors that Spanish 2 students tend to make. And I want you to be aware of them so that you don't make these mistakes. Okay. The conjugations for nosotros and vosotros for verbs ending in ER and IR are different. Nosotros for ER verbs ends in hemos and vosotros in es versus in IR verbs the ending is imos and is. Another difference is, so that's one thing, and here's the other difference. Okay, for stem changing verbs, again, like we have said, they do not change in the stem. That's why they stay outside the shoe. All right, so see if you can answer these two questions. You may use the word bank showing in the bottom, okay, to answer these two questions. Muy bien. Okay, so now, completa las oraciones. Mis amigos y yo, blank, encontrar información en la internet. You may use this word bank here. The verbs that are in parentheses may vary. They may match what's here, but they may not. You can use this word bank to conjugate the verb. So encontrar ends in AR. You need to conjugate with mis amigos y yo, so your answer should be somewhere in here. Okay. Poder yo ir al baño. Poder is an ER verb, so your answer should be somewhere in here. Okay. Poder tú hablar un poco de español. ¿Cuánto blanc costar las pulseras? ¿Dónde almorzar el estudiante nuevo? Continue to the next activity. Buen trabajo. Muchas gracias.